Okay, so we looked at a couple of picking patterns for right hand. Now obviously there's a whole host of things you can do with that. There's loads of different patterns, people use all sorts of different things, and the examples I give you are pretty basic examples, but hopefully something that you can build on, and we'll probably come back to revisit this anyway and do some more slightly complicated ones. Another thing which is pretty cool with fingerstyle guitar is we can split the sound up a little bit. So what we did earlier was we played like the bass and the chord all together, like that, or as a pattern. What you can also do is use a kind of rhythmic device, like a sort of slapper, hit on the guitar. Now this really creates a sort of bit of a backbeat. So if you think of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, pretty much like a snare drum part. If we started this really simply with just now again, this is probably going to sound easy for some people, but if you're going to get into this style, you need to figure out what works for you. Some people, I see some people doing this sometimes, or hitting the guitar or whatever. Pretty much anything will work up to a point. I tend to limit movement with my right hand, so I try to do things that fall naturally. See that from side on. It's just, that's the way it falls naturally for me. So I'm sort of like, if I'm playing that, I'm going 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3. So here we've got the bass separated a little bit, so we've got effectively what is a really simple bass part. Dum dum, 1, 2 and 3. Now the 2 and the 4 part, the percussive part, is going to work with just like, if you imagine that as your bass part, and then you've got your snare drum part. With a metronome once you get it in your head. You can also pluck the chord out. And the whole idea behind this is to develop a groove and develop a way of doing this that works for you. It's not very specific. I mean, I know loads of people that do this style of guitar playing, and I don't think any of them do it the same way. So what I do is I do something that really just appeals to me. It's natural for me. It's not difficult for me to do particularly. Because I think what happens is when you take your hand off, if you move your hand round to do that, that whole movement for me is too much of a movement. So I would keep everything much closer in, and if we just thought for just a second, if we speeded that up, now you see when I speed up, I'm not moving a huge amount from here, whereas if I have to take my hand off and turn it at any point, then that movement for me is not great, because it means that you're sort of losing time, if you like, because you're having to physically move a lot to do something else. Same as if you hit the guitar like that, it's fantastic in certain circumstances, but to keep a constant groove, that's a lot harder to do. So I would stick to just trying to stay everything in one place. So going back to speed we were doing it at, and we go to C, and up to D, cool thing with this type of playing is that you can change the dynamic. Once you get used to the technique, you can change the dynamic between the bass, the chord, and the percussive part. So at the very end there, I was playing the percussive part a little bit louder. Good thing is, once you've got the technique sorted a little bit, you can control each part of the dynamic of it. So if you, say for example, you were doing a verse part and you went to a chorus part, and it was just you and you were singing, or somebody else was singing, you can literally increase the volume of your percussive part there, which would take it up a level for a chorus. So if you were doing you go into a chorus part, now that again is something that I've found a little bit deceptive, because it looks quite easy. It looks like you're just obviously hitting the guitar, which you are, but you've got to sort of do it in time, if you like. Now I tend to think, I've mentioned this before, in terms of like how a drummer would approach things. Now obviously this is not a drum kit, I'm not trying to be a drummer, but just the groove of the drums going along with it, that's what I'm thinking in my head. I tend to not think too much about anything technical. I tend to concentrate a little bit more on the groove of it. So you can do any sort of pattern you want. I was doing a kind of bluesy sort of pattern there, but the main thing is just to get used to that sound and sort out your right hand position so that it feels comfortable and you can do all this stuff without too much of a problem, really. You can change about the chord as well as well.